God's pattern has always been small beginnings. Think about it. The universe itself began with God speaking the word, "Let there be light." Just one command. From that small word came galaxies. God delights in starting small because he sees the end from the beginning. Small steps build big impact. One of the biggest enemies of small beginnings is comparison. We look at others who seem miles ahead and we feel discouraged. But here is the truth. Everyone's story has a day one. Notice in Zechariah, it doesn't say the Lord rejoices when the work is finished. It says he rejoices to see the work begin. Hello and welcome once again. This is Nelson Karanja for God and I, the Creative Locus. Today, I want to talk about the power of small beginnings. One of the things I've come to realize about life is this. We often underestimate the power of starting small. Many of us sit back waiting for the big break, the grand moment when everything aligns perfectly. But if you are honest, most of the things we admire today started very small, almost insignificant. And yet God says in Zechariah chapter 4 and verse 10, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." That means God isn't only interested in the finish line, he actually celebrates the very first step you take. God's pattern has always been small beginnings. Think about it. The universe itself began with God speaking the word, "Let there be light." Just one command. From that small word came galaxies. Humanity began with one man, Adam, then one family, Noah's, and then one covenant, Abraham's. Now we talk about nations, generations, the church worldwide. Even our own salvation started with the birth of one baby in a manger in Bethlehem. The Savior of the world didn't arrive with fanfare in a palace. He came in the most humble, small way possible. God delights in starting small because he sees the end from the beginning. Small steps build big impact. Let's bring it closer to our lives. That small decision to set aside 10 minutes each morning to pray or reflect can transform your spiritual walk. That simple hello to a colleague could open a door to a lifelong friendship or even a ministry. Starting a journal, a side project, or even planting one tree in your backyard. All this might feel insignificant today, but if you give it time, it will yield something great. Think of the mighty oak tree. It begins as a tiny acorn that can fit in the palm of your hand. Nobody looking at the acorn would actually predict the massive tree it carries inside, but God does. And he looks at your small steps the same way. When you take that first step, God already sees you as that big achiever. He sees you as the finished product. Don't let comparison kill your start. One of the biggest enemies of small beginnings is comparison. We look at others who seem miles ahead and we feel discouraged. But here is the truth. Everyone's story has a day one. Amazon started in a garage. The light bulb took Edison thousands of failed tries before one worked. Even David started as a shepherd boy before becoming king. You don't need to be where others are. You just need to be faithful where you are. God rejoices in the beginning, not just the end. Notice in Zechariah, it doesn't say the Lord rejoices when the work is finished. It says he rejoices to see the work begin. That means your first step matters to him. So maybe it's that class you've been delaying, that business idea, that ministry dream, or simply reaching out to reconcile with someone. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Begin. God is already cheering you on. I remember that time when I wanted to move to UK for the very first time. It felt overwhelming. I wanted it all figured out before I started. I wanted to know, how do you even go about the visa? Where do you even stay when you get there? I don't know anybody there. But when I finally took one small step, I sent one email, had one conversation with a stranger somewhere advertising for a writers' conference in Wales. Doors started opening. Looking back, I realized that that first, shaky, seemingly small step was the most important I ever took. Friends, here is the encouragement. Don't despise the day of small beginnings. Don't overlook the little seeds you are planting. God sees them and He celebrates them. Your job is not to figure out how it will all come together. Your job is to begin, however small, however simple, because in God's hands, small beginnings carry great power. In Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9, it says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So start where you are. Begin with what you have. Trust God with the rest, because the power of small beginnings lies in this truth. What starts small with God never stays small. And until next time, this is Nelson Karanja for God and I, the Creative Locus.